Beer, rum, and rock and roll. Saving rock, one conversation at a time. With Randy Legault and Beau Shiminsky.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Beer, Rum, and Rock and Roll podcast. We've got a special one coming up. It's part 2 of our interview with Canadian drummer Shane Gaalaas. He was nice enough to come back and chat some more about his career. And man, did he have some great stories, eh, Beau?
Oh, man, I was looking forward to it, 1. And 2, he likes to tell a story. There's no question.
He really does.
So it was a great guest and great to have him take us down memory lane a little bit. It was awesome. Yeah.
He looks back on playing with a bunch of his heroes, like guitar gods like Michael Schenker, Uli Jon Roth from the Scorpions. I'm talking Glenn Hughes from Trapeze, Deep Purple, and Black Country. And he tells the story of the time he took fellow Canadian Brent Fitz's drum seat in Slash's band for a few gigs. So that's a good story, hey?
Oh, yeah. It's great. Really good.
Yeah. Plus, we get an inside look at what it's like to play massive stadium shows with the Japanese rock duo Bees. I mean, nobody knows who the fuck they are here, but they've sold 100 million albums worldwide. And he gives us the inside track on that.
100 million.
Like what?
They like their music over there, man. And they obviously like live music too, man. If they're that big of venues, man, it's killer. Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, this cat's awesome. And he doesn't just play drums either. Like he's got solo projects where he plays guitar, he sings, he does it all, man.
Produces, engineers, mixes, masters. I'm sure yeah, it's crazy.
He's a one-man show.
Yeah.
And he's a rock solid dude, more importantly.
And he wants to talk to us.
That's right. Why? Who knows? But he did.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this, man. Here's our interview with the super talented Shane Gaalaas. Roll it.
How's it going, gentlemen? Happy Friday
Excellent.
to you all.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers to you, brother. Yeah.
You know, I'm not drinking booze just yet, but I am drinking some Hydro Flask water.
Oh, some Voss.
I like that you have the you're sporting the Toque shirt there.
I am. You can see you in there.
Oh, yeah.
Right about
Did
there.
someone send you one for free, hopefully?
Yeah, we got some connections in that band somehow. Yeah.
Deal, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming back, man.
How's it going up there in Cowtown?
Well, you know, it's balmy +2 and snowing right now. So
I heard it was snowing today. And it's been snowing, right?
Yeah.
Dude, it's never gonna end. It's brutal. How's LA these days anyway, man? Like, is it full lockdown still? Are you gigging at the Baked Potato yet?
No, but soon to be though. We're in much better shape, I think, because they were so hard on us. I say hard on us, but they were so strict with everything initially, like right out of the gate. They shut everything down for, it feels like a whole year we were pretty much locked down. So our numbers are just way better now than they have been. And plus, the vaccination program's been really good for the last couple of months. I just had my second shot 2 days ago of the Moderna. So I think there's, they finally started to get a handle on it. So they're starting to open up restaurants and bars and things like that. So it is actually starting to open up for us finally.
And side effects, anything harsh? Or you just felt shitty for a day kind of thing? Or
it's funny. The first one I had a little bit of a headache, just a little bit for a couple of hours. Took some Tylenol, it was fine. The second one was a little worse, but I've been hearing horror stories, from my friends that have gotten it recently, and they're like, dude, it laid me out for like 5 days, or 2 days was the common one. 2 days with a fever in bed kind of thing, So I was like, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, then I'm prepared to deal with it. But actually, it wasn't that bad.
You keeping busy, man? You doing sessions, or what's going on in that studio behind you? What's happening?
Yeah, well, most of the things I've been doing lately, I've been doing like music cues for kind of like music library stuff that, hopefully it gets placed into TV or, different, there's different avenues where it goes. Some gaming music I've been recording lately. And then just like one-off, 1-2 song, things for different artists. So it's been good. You know, I've been knock on wood. I've been lucky, you know, because obviously there's been no live stuff. Uh, I'm going to do a live gig. We have like in literally in 1 month, I have my first sort of bona fide live gig in front of an audience here at the Baked Potato with Cosmo Squad. And that'll be the first time I've done a gig in, you know, well over a year. So I managed to keep busy. You know, this year's been good so far. So I feel fortunate. You know, I'm fortunate to have a studio these days to be able to, you know, work out of.
Totally. You guys shot a video there, did you not? You and the Toque boys.
Yep, yep. Yeah, we've been writing. We've got, I think, 6 songs pretty much in the can. We've been doing all, you know, we did the shot a video here, and we're pretty busy now. So now that things are opening up, hopefully we'll be able to, you know, get together and do some more writing and, you know, do some more stuff.
So is that that's for the new album, I'm assuming?
Yeah, you know, we're still kind of hemming and hawing, I guess, and trying to figure out what we're gonna do. You know, does it make sense to go put a record out when you can't tour? Do you just put a single out? You know, you do one single every month. I mean, so it's, or do you want to wait until things are opened up and you can go tour and do it? You know, so there's just a lot of variables right now. It's just, there's so many things up in the air. It's hard to discern what the best way to go about it is. And, you know, everybody in the industry is kind of in the same boat. We're all like going, well, what the hell are we going to do? Like, we don't know really, you know, so we're kind of still in this limbo thing. You know, hopefully there's a little light at the end of the tunnel now with the vaccination rollout and all this stuff. And, you know, but who knows, you know, I mean, it's hard to say. I wish I could say, yeah, we're going to release a record in 3 months, but I know one thing for sure is we're actively going to be working on new music, and that's always sort of the tough one anyway, is getting the music written in the first place, you know, and then the logistics with the release, you know, we'll see. But it's gonna, whatever is going to happen will happen, you know, quite soon, I would imagine. So.
Is it too early to say whether it's going to be half originals, half covers, or how that's going to play out? Is that too early for that?
It's going to be probably just original. I mean, I think we're all sort of on
okay.
the idea of just releasing original music. You know, we're always going to be the cover thing because it's, you know, kind of, it's the roots of what we've done but did. But I would say, you know, we all want to have a real band here, you know, like go out and play, you know, we all want to write our own music. It's fun playing Streetheart and Harlequin and all this stuff. It's great. And we'll continue to do that, I'm sure, to some capacity, but we want to make our own music, you know. I mean, it's such a great chemistry, you know, with the four of us. And there's no reason why we can't just play our own music, you know.
As a fan, I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy you said that, actually, that it was all original. That's awesome.
You know, I mean, things could change. And again, we're still sort of early on in the game, this whole, what the next phase will be, you know, depending on a lot of variables. But basically, we're a band of 4 different cats that, you know, all come from the same stuff. But collectively, when we get together, we want to play our own stuff and write our own stuff. So that's what's going to happen, you know, I think. You know, and I'm sure we'll sprinkle in a cover here and there, or maybe a single or a video, or, you know, we'll do special things. And, you know, who knows, maybe we'll do a Gordon Lightfoot tribute next.
Well, speaking of covers, dude, this Dirty Movies thing you do with Kearns and Toshi and Corey. Oh my God. I fucking love it. I want you to do another one. Are you taking requests? I want Light Up the Sky, and I want it now.
Yeah, that'd be a great one. You know, it's funny because Toshi approached me. I played with Toshi and other things, you know, I've known Toshi more as kind of, you know, doing funk and R&B, and we play together at Baked Potato, and he's on Kimmel, and you wouldn't necessarily know him to be a Van Halen, you know, extraordinaire, right? I mean, he's nails that stuff. As I got to know Toshi better, I found out, oh wow, he listened to all the same shit I did. It's just that when he came here, and and your taste, your palate or your periphery kind of opens up, especially when you have to start playing a lot of different types of styles in the studio, and if you're a working musician. But I discovered that his roots are Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen. So I saw something from some jam, like Ultimate Jam Night or something at the Whiskey, and he's like, playing an Eddie solo, like just note for note, perfect tone, feel, everything. I'm like, dude, I texted him like, what the hell's with you and Van Halen? I had no idea. And he goes, yeah, man, I was weaned on Van Halen or whatever. I'm like, no way, man, we should. And then it kind of, from there, I always knew that he had that thing. And then I had the idea to do, when this COVID thing all happened, I was like, hey, man, we should do a Van Halen cover. So we did it, and we're like, I think we did, what did we do? Maybe we did an instrumental version. That's right. We did an instrumental version of a song. And then we were like, hey, man, that was so fun. Let's do some more, but we should get a singer. And dude, who's the best singer in the world?
I know a guy.
Yeah, I was like, man, we got to get Todd to do this thing. And he'll make it his own, but it'll be epic, And so we did that.
He crushes it, man. Oh my God! Like Out of Love. Oh my God.
Was funny was watching Toque, and it looks like he's not even moving. Like it doesn't even seem like he's doing anything, and he's doing all of it. He's got a weird style to him that can play that shit without. It's easy. It seems so easy for him, man.
It's ridiculous, I think what it is when he first picked up the guitar and he was noodling or learning, it was like that first stuff that you get, in your DNA, whatever that first thing you build, the foundation, that stuff it's part of you. And it's just, you can tell he's like, got it. He's got Eddie inside him. I mean, he learned it when he was really young. So he knows every freaking, not only 2 or 3 songs that he learned to do these covers. He knows everything, like every record, every solo, every nuance, every chord. Wow. It's crazy.
I would be a nightmare around that guy. I'd be like, hey, do this, play this. Yeah. So are you the guy mixing and recording and doing all that stuff? Are you the guy doing that, or who's doing
for the Dirty Movie stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it sounded great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I mix it over here. Todd recorded his stuff in Vegas, and Toque, I think, he recorded his stuff at his house. He's got a great studio. And then I just, put it all together, and Toque did the video. He did the video editing, and then so I just mixed it, some files, and put it all together. So
right on. Okay, we got to get back to this fucking kick-ass resume of yours, because there's people on it that I'm dying to hear stories about, and you were there and you were doing it. So last time we talked, you just finished the Yngwie Malmsteen album tour cycle. That's where we kind of ended. So, but this next guy, I definitely want you to talk about, and that's Michael Schenker. I mean, another guitar god comes into your life, and I'm just wondering, as a huge Shanker fan, whether it's UFO or MSG or whatever, I want to hear how that gig happened and what that was like, man.
So basically, the Yngwie thing, we did the whole thing, world tour, the tour of the record, and then came back to LA. I was living in Long Beach at the time, and I was kind of like out of a gig. And what he was going to do, Yngwie was going to go do this, take some time off and do a thing with the Prague Symphony Orchestra. Throughout the management circles, there's a lot of the same bands that use the same manager. So the word kind of got out that I was available for a gig. And through those circles, Michael's management at the time reached out and just inquired if, I'd be interested. He was just about to go record a record just inquired with me if I was available to do it. I was like, yeah, I can't do anything else.
Hell yeah.
Come on. Michael Schenker, you kidding me? You know, because I was a big, like you, I was a big Michael Schenker fan. And
Oh yeah.
I learned a lot of that stuff on guitar, like Assault Attack and MSG, the first couple records, and of course the UFO stuff. And my cover bands up in Canada, in Calgary, we were playing a lot of that stuff, the UFO. So yeah, I was a huge Michael Schenker fan. So of course it was like, you kidding me? So Barry Sparks, the bass player, and myself both kind of jumped right out of Yngwie and right into Michael. Went out to Phoenix, and I stayed with a buddy of mine, and then we rehearsed, and we wrote the record that became Written in the Sand. So we stayed up there for about a month. Michael kind of had all the songs sort of demoed up, and then we were in Phase 4 studio, and we rehearsed kind of pre-production stuff for about a month or so. And then we went in and here Rumbo Studios and recorded Written in the Sand. Rumbo Studios is in LA. It was owned by Captain and Tennille.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kind of a famous.
I'm old enough to know what that is.
Muskrat Sally. Yes.
But it was a famous, like one of those like famous LA studios, and so it was like, yeah, wow. I went from Criteria in Miami, which had this big, iconic status, to like Rumbo Studios. Oh man, all these records that were recorded here. So, and that was with actually Ron Nevison, the producer. So that was a real treat to work with him in Rumbo and cut that record, and then started to tour with Michael. And then, it was like off and on touring. Michael's thing was a little sporadic. Like we would tour for 6 weeks or 2 months or something, and then there'd be like 6 months off, we just didn't know what was going to happen. And there was a whole transition in the industry at that point too. So it was kind of like everyone was kind of trying to figure out what to do next. Everything was going to digital. And so during that time is when I started to, make a lot of, different connections in LA and stuff. But I think I did like 5 records, four studio records with Michael. And then there was a couple live records.
Can I take you into the studio for a bit? I'm just wondering, like I read Kenny Aronoff's book, and I just found it fascinating how he meticulously charts everything out, and he's super detailed. I'm wondering what your process is. So he's got these songs demoed. What's your process in figuring out what your drum parts are going to be and all that?
It depends. There's so many variables when you talk about that. It depends on what type of a situation it is. Like in the case of, say, a Michael Schenker, where we rehearsed for doing a month of pre-production, where we're kind of rehearsing the songs and, trying different things, different grooves and different, arrangements and things like that. So, I mean, by the time that whole month is over and the producers come in, he's already spent a week with us. We're dialing in parts. I don't really need to chart stuff out at that point because I've spent so much time with the music, and now let's say, so I finished that gig, and now the next week I get a call from Mike Varney, and he goes, dude, I need you to come up to Prairie Sun like in 2 days, and you got to fill in for Dean Castronova because he can't make the record day with Vinnie Moore or something. You know what I mean? So as an example,
Right? Yeah.
like, oh my God,
guitar
okay.
player.
So
Another hack.
Another hack. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I'm like, yeah, just send me the music, and that's when the chart stuff has to take place. There's no way I'm gonna record all these songs, by memory in 2 days. It's not gonna happen. So I'll get the music, and that at that point, I just, I get my staff paper out and my pencil sharpener and my pencil. I get my headphones on and just start making charts and just chart out all the music. A roadmap of the music, not the music, but the rhythm, the roadmap of the song, so I can actually, I can write out the hits and the different sections and what the groove is in a certain section, or if I want to maybe change the groove or something. So that's when I would use the the charting stuff. So that's when I would be grateful for the fact that I was schooled. That did save my ass a lot of times, because if I would have had the 2 days to record the Vinnie Moore album without any charting capability, there's no way I could have done it.
How much do you change the sound or have control of the sound of your kit? I know you got a signature snare and some other things going on, but do you kind of look for that, or do they tell you? Like, I can't see Michael Schenker going, I don't like that snare sound, but maybe, you know what I mean? He seems so calm and kind of quiet.
Well,
But
yeah, certainly. A lot of times the artist will, chime in and like say you're in the studio and there's usually the producer would make that call if
Right.
there's a producer.
right,
These days, however, there's no producers, everyone's a producer. So,
right.
um, I will use my best judgment to try and nail the snare sound. If the guy sends me a demo and he's programmed the drums and obviously he used, say, like a sample that was really deep or something,
Right.
like a Mutt Lange kind of snare, then my go-to would be, okay, what am I going to use? I'm going to use a big fat deep, snare, or, I've got like however many snares. So I can kind of, within a listen, I can kind of go, okay, I can kind of look through my little arsenal of snares and go, yeah, this one would probably work. Now, if it was going to be a studio situation where I was going to go to the studio with a producer, I'd probably do the same thing if they sent me the demo. I'd probably take 2 or 3, maybe 4 snares with me, and I would put up my first choice on the gig.
Right.
And then the producer might go, yeah, could we hear? A lot of times they just want to hear it to
Right.
satisfy their own
Yeah.
curiosity, as an,
Yeah.
a producer, engineer. Sometimes you're just like, well, that's cool, but, I saw that other one sitting on that floor. You got that 80s bell brass Tama. Can we throw that up and hear what it sounds like?
Where's the piccolo? Yeah, exactly.
Or the other way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And a lot of times, usually what happens is, if I have 3 or 4 choices, or they may go, yeah, so you got a couple of the drums. Usually they'll want to hear a couple of drums. That's just pretty standard. So I'll throw up 2 or 3 drums, maybe 4. And a lot of times what happens is, they'll go, yeah, can we hear that first one again? And I'll throw the first one on. And I mean, I do it myself too. It's like when I'm demoing, a song for myself, or, if now we sort of have the luxury of, doing it ourselves. But a lot of times the artist just kind of puts their trust in you because they hopefully you have some experience with what they're trying to do, or, what would work best in their song. So I'll demo myself, I'll go and I'll record 3 different drums. I'll come in an A/B. And a lot of times my instinct is like the first instinct that I had for that first drum that I chose is usually the one that gets a nod.
Right. And it feels like as an engineer or a musician or anything, sometimes that first thing is hard to recreate. It's impossible to get it out of your head or out of your hands, or whatever it is that, you got to trust that, I guess, a bit more, and that's, yeah.
We call it, demoitis, or married to the demo, where, if I wrote something and I had a certain drum that I recorded with, and then I change it, it's like, or, it goes through like I change the arrangement or the chord or something. A lot of times, whatever we put down first, we're kind of married to, so it's good to be able to like lose that and just go, yeah, let's try this way, but also be mindful of, what that first thing was, and just keep it all in focus. I think as you mature, you realize you gotta sometimes just totally let go to that demo thing you had, especially when you're writing with other people. And you'll have this thing, you wrote this riff or whatever, this groove, and you're like, oh man, that's just the best thing I've ever done. You'll give it to the guys, like for example, I'll give it to Corey, who I work a lot with, and he'll come back and he'll have totally changed everything, like the chord structures or the one chord that I wanted.
Yeah.
Really, like the end, that I thought was resolving the whole thing. He might change that. I just go, oh, at first blush, like, that's not what I hear, man. But then it's like you sit on it and you let that thing go and you go, actually, I really do dig this thing. So that's where the magic of, being able to let go of your ego and trusting, other people with your stuff. And that's why, you look at the great bands in the history of our music, and it's always because of the synergy of all the guys together, the great producers that I've had the luxury of working with, they're very much on that page of, what do you hear, man? Like, give me something.
Right.
And they want to get the best out of you because they trusted you to begin with, because they're there as a producer. They believed in something that you guys are doing collectively. So they're like, hell yeah, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Like, the best guys are usually just like the most put up like nonchalant. They're just like, I just want to hear I want to bring the best out of you guys. I want to get the best performance because I know you guys can do it. They have an ability to sort of psychologically steer you in the right direction, but they give you the reins, and it's usually the producers that are really sort of meticulous about all the control stuff, and those aren't typically the great producers that I've come in contact with anyway. So
Yeah, I feel that because it's like with engineering producers, they understand that other side of it, and that's hard to get rid of because it's a technical thing, right? It's not a feel or an emotional thing. It's certainly a learned behavior, right? And really, yeah, the group dynamic and letting people breathe. Yeah, it's cool that you got those experiences, especially when you're kind of just asked to be a part of it, not so much part
Yeah.
of the situation. You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
cool to hear, and I'm glad there's producers out there like that. Right on.
it's like, yeah, they just give you the reins, they just give you that space to do your thing, man. So you don't feel like, anxious or nervous, or it's like, am I doing the right thing? It's psychology. It's about, because if you trust someone and you believe in them, first of all, and you trust them and you give them the reins, they're going to probably exceed your expectations,
Okay, before we leave, Michael, I'm a huge Scorpions fan. I'm wondering, did you guys play any of that stuff off Love Drive or anything? Or
We kind of did a little bit of everything from every era.
Huh.
oh, cool.
On tour, on stage. So it was amazing. So we opened with a Scorpion song, like was it Lonesome Crow, the first record that Michael was on?
Yep.
I think, yeah.
That's right.
We did one of those tunes, and then into we went through his whole, like, chronologically, we went through the whole catalog. So it was, right into the UFO, and then back into the Scorpions for a minute, and then MSG, and then Macaulay Schenker. So it was cool, man. Because I was a huge Scorps fan, growing up too. Like especially the early Scorpions, like
Yeah.
Love at First Sting was kind of like the last record for me that I was, big Scorps fan. It was like
Me too.
Virgin Killer, and In Trance, and Tokyo Tapes, and of course Love Drive, and
another piece of meat. Come on.
That's
well,
rad.
Michael played on Love Drive, so we did a couple of those songs too.
Oh yeah, he did. He played on 5 tracks on that album.
Yeah. So we actually did do a couple of those songs too, which is so fun live. And then we finished the record at Phase 4 Studios in Phoenix with Michael, and we had a listening party. And just, I don't know why they were there, but it was Rudolph, Klaus, maybe. Oh, I think, you know what it was? They were playing a gig. That's right. They played a gig, a festival gig, and they came to the studio and listened through the record with us live. So I was just like,
dude,
listen to me play drums. That was cool. That was one of the highlights for me. I'm like, no,
that's what I'm talking about.
Shanker's right next. Oh my god, I can't look at him. That was cool. That was a really cool moment, because it was like, wow, this is cool. Because that Scorpions for me was one of those really huge bands. Like Zeppelin, like AC/DC, Scorpions, like
Yes, well, that's leading nicely into another guy you played with. I don't have to tell you who it was. Uli Jon Roth. So I mean, the Scorpions are like two different bands. There's the Uli years,
dude,
completely different than the Matthias Jabs years. Let's call it that. And I love them both.
Exactly.
But his style is so fucking unique. I mean, what was it like playing with him?
That was crazy. Yeah, that was really crazy. Because again, I was such a big Uli head, and in some ways, Uli was he's like the freaking OG. He's the GOAT of that kind of style. Yngwie, all those guys, all that stuff. You hear those early solos from Uli. Nobody was playing that, man. Nobody was playing like that. So yeah, to actually get to have a chance to play with him was unbelievable. And when I first met Uli we were on tour with Michael Schenker in Europe doing the G3, and Uli was kind of opening. I think he did a couple shows on that thing, and I met him there, and it was like, oh my, I remember meeting him. And it's like, no way, it's Uli. What do you say to a guy like that when he's just one of your idols, right? So that was cool. And then to have him later, invite me to go, make a record with him and tour with him and stuff. And Uli as a dude was amazing. He was going through a phase of his career where he didn't really want to sort of rely on the Scorpion stuff, and he wanted to do his thing, which was kind of more classically inspired music, and he was just pretty hell-bent on just sticking to that stuff. And we're all like, dude, let's do like Steam Rock Fever. And Barry and I would go into the groove, Steam Rock Fever. And it was hard to get him to kind of budge, and I get it from an artist standpoint. It's like you want to feel like you're constantly growing and you're changing. You don't want to rely on something you did 10 years ago.
Sure.
I get it. However, from our standpoint, we were still pretty young then, I think, too. We're just like, oh my God, we gotta, we were playing Tokyo tapes, because I know that record back, all those songs.
Oh, dude,
we were weaned on.
Yeah.
So of course I'm gonna go into it, or even if he's not there.
Course.
And you got Don Airy on keyboard.
Every sound check.
Don Airy, just him, on keyboards.
Don Airy was
Wow.
we recorded a record in Uli lived in a castle in Aberystwyth, Wales.
Of course he does.
Dude, I know. And he's such a nice guy. Like, he's a really genuinely nice dude, super smart. And so we went to Aberystwyth, Wales, to record, a record with Uli. And yeah, he lived in, he was in a castle on a cliff overlooking like the ocean. Don Airy was there on keys. It was like, what is this? So
Wow.
we're playing all, and he'd be playing Mr. Crowley and shit.
Awesome.
Barry and I are looking at each other in the rehearsal going, so he's playing Mr. Crowley. So we set up all the gear though in this ball. It was like a big ass room, and there was, Don, and we all set up live in this, and they're also with another guitar player live, like all the instruments playing into this big cavernous room. It was hard to hear, and in those days we didn't have great headphone mixes, because we didn't have, like, I don't even remember we had an engineer. Uli was just like, let's just play free and let's just like play and see what happens. He was very about playing and capturing the magic that comes out of when you play together, which I love that. The challenge with that is when you're in a big room and you're all playing together really loud, it's hard to get that on tapes, capture that on tape, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
There's
no
no
baffles? No baffle, nothing.
Nothing. I don't think so. I think maybe there was a little baffle in his guitar, in front of his guitar. But he plays on like 25. I mean, he's got his rig was so
Yes, he
easy on.
does.
So it was a challenge, but it was a fun, however long I spent there. I don't even remember what it was, a couple of weeks or something, but it was cool. And then at the end of the night, or at the end of the day recording, we would go upstairs and, he'd crack wine, and we just start drinking wine and listen to Uli talk about, metaphysical things. I mean, he's really interesting cat, astrophysics, and talking about the universe. And then Barry and I would be like, so what was it like when you first time you went to Japan with Scorpions, and ask him all these geeky ass questions.
Yeah.
But it was such a great experience. I think on a personal level, Uli was just, he instilled a lot of really special things in me that were more
Cool.
profound things. They weren't technical musical things. He's not about that, even though he can play, technical, and he studied in classical, but he's also very rootsy and bluesy, and he's into just like Hendrix. Hendrix is his thing.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Right. So he kept you on your toes live, I bet, because I don't think he's a by the book player on stage, is he? Like, he improvs on stage a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, his thing is to be free, man. He wants
Yeah.
It's all about improvisation with him for sure. So I think that was the thing, being in Scorpions and playing structured songs. I mean, I can see how it's not his thing entirely. He wants to just, be able to go off the rails and go over here and explore something that's not even related to what that song was, which I can dig that, it was cool.
Well, one look at that guy's guitar and he's wired different.
Yeah,
That's for fucking sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Shane, I got one more guy.
Sure.
Are you all right? The freak show talent of Glenn Hughes.
Oh my God.
I mean, this guy is unbelievable still. So tell me about the Hughes Turner project and what went down there and how that was.
Yeah, I met Glenn on the road, Europe. I think it was G3 tour as well. And he was just like the coolest cat. And to see that guy play every night, it's like,
oh man,
witnessing, it's like seeing Stevie Wonder or something. I mean, he's just,
wow.
He's so I mean, it's crazy how just the sheer talent from God or from the heavens or universe, whatever you want to say, he's got it, man. He's just got that the dust was sprinkled on him.
And he walks around like he does too. Like you see him, physically moving. It's like, yeah, he's on a different level for sure.
He was the coolest. And then we had talked to each other on the road, and we kind of already had a rapport. And then somehow, I guess my name came up or whatever. And then we did the Hughes Turner record. And then I went out on tour with Glenn and did some shows. And that's really where, the magic happens, is playing live with that guy. Because, yeah, he's amazing in the studio. And we all know how, all the amazing stuff that he's recorded, but when you play with that guy live, that's the shit. He wants to jam, and I love to jam. My nature is to jam. I love to just go, to feed off other guys, and if they're playing out, I'm gonna go with them, and I'm take them just hopefully to some other place, and they're gonna come with me and follow, and we're gonna jump on that same thing. And there was, with Glenn, there's no clicks, there's no like counting off. Even sometimes you just go into the song, and he may want to bring it down and just anywhere, you'll just come over and you'll just feel and feed off him that, oh yeah, we're going to bring it down here. Or he starts to bring it down and you do it. There's no rules, and he might just, hey, just give me a kick, in the middle of the thing. Okay. And then he might walk up to the mic and just start scatting a solo and just do some chords. And like, I remember the first show, I think, because we barely had any rehearsal. And, I barely knew that, because we were doing a lot of his, solo stuff, and I barely kind of knew the stuff. And I was like, man, okay, this is kind of scary. I hope I can. But the thing that's cool about it, with his songs, there wasn't so strict arrangements. Like I could read him a lot because he's real animated on stage. And he comes over and he wants to feel it together. It's not like just this, da da da, here's the song and we do it. It's like, let's do this together. And live, it's kind of like almost jazz, where you just kind of start and then everyone's listening together. It was a trio. Everyone's listening together and you're just kind of riding this train, and someone will go someplace and you'll, oh, okay, we're going to go over there. And Glenn would usually drive things to certain places. And then, yeah, so I remember that first gig. He comes back, he goes, yeah, just break it down. Like, break it down, to a kick. So I break it down, and I'm like, okay, he wants to jam, obviously. He goes up to the mic, and he just started going off, and it was like crazy, because he was taking it to this whole other Stevie Wonder place. And then he likes to get funky, too, like get funky with it, and I love that, from his whole trapeze thing and stuff. I mean, he really likes to explore that live. We've talked over the years about trying to do something again. And he's just so busy, he's always got like however many things going on. But yeah, I love that man for sure. And he's just such a great dude.
Did you get to, you said it was a trio, so maybe not, but did you get to play Burn? Did you get to be Ian Pace for Oh, I love that song so
Every
much.
night. I
Every
think that
night.
was probably the encore. Every night,
Yeah,
pretty much Burn.
sure
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was a
what a
lot of
killer
fun.
tune that is.
Yeah, right.
Oh, like I just keep think after all these stories you've been telling us, it's really cool to start your own band, and you do that too, and have some success, and that's great. But to be able to be, I'll call it a hired gun for lack of a better phrase, and to get to play with all these different talents and different people, there's something fucking awesome about that too. Like I think it's
Yeah.
so cool.
Man, I'm so grateful that I, had that
Right.
opportunity because, these days it's a different thing, right? I mean, there's legends, of course, coming out. It's just that was the birth of rock and roll. Those guys that I got to play with, they were there at the onset of this new musical style. It was like in the 50s. There was Jerry Lee Lewis and, Elvis. And then, in the 60s, there was, the whole British invasion and the Beatles and stuff. Those were significant movements in the history of Western music, right? And the early 70s, through the 80s, again, that was a big movement. Since then, I don't know that there's been that kind of a, since Nirvana anyway. Okay, we'll give them that one. Grunge that
Sure.
had certainly had a significant iconic time, and it's and is so important in the history of music. But I don't know, since then, we've had amazing music and artists and all kinds, and now it's just so much stuff, right? So for me, it feels like I was there in a period where stuff was kind of being born, that music was kind of being born at that point. So yeah, it's real special, and I'm really grateful that I did have that time. Now when I go, watch an Ingve, video or something, I'm like, wow, yeah, that really was an incredible time that I lived through. And like I'm doing tracks for kids, seems like these days,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Right.
to them, like a guitar player, like a guy like Ingve is like, the sort of the godfather of shred to them, and they're like, oh, I know, they freak out when they find out I played with them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just another guy.
I do.
It's like,
It's my thing, man. I just line up with all these heavy virtuoso guitar players and they call me, which is the crazy shit. Maybe it's because I don't blow up or something, maybe, to quote Spinal Tap, but
Well, that's the thing too. You're obviously a super talented cat yourself. These guys aren't phoning you because you don't kick ass.
That's
You're
right.
obviously
well,
fucking
I don't
super
know.
talented dude.
I've been in the right place at the right time. But yeah, it's
Sure.
it's been good. It's funny how that works, really. I mean, there's so much smoke and mirrors that really goes along with it all. You're in kind of this one circle for a bit, and in that radar and that sort of orbit, and you'll start to do all that stuff in that orbit, and then you'll move orbits and you'll do this other stuff, and then when the whole bees thing happened, it sort of took me out of all that stuff.
Well, let's talk about the bees,
Yeah.
man, because this is fucking fascinating to me. So here's this band that's gigantic, playing stadiums in Japan, and nobody knows who the fuck they are over here. And you get the gig, go to a different culture, immerse yourself in that culture. Like, I want to hear about that, man, because it's just fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of started with, so Cosmo Squad, Jeff Coleman and I,
Yep.
we started working together in the late 90s, or actually mid 90s, like 96. And a couple years later, I got contacted from this cat. His name is Kuni Takeuchi in Tokyo. And he spent a lot of time here in LA and working with a lot of different bands. He's a guitar player, and he had a label in Japan called Big MF Records, and he contacted us. He was a fan of Jeff Coleman's guitar playing and stuff, and so we were kind of shopping for a deal over there in Japan with Cosmo Squad, and he ended up picking it up and releasing it on his label. And so the umbrella company, or sort of the parent company of his label, was the same company as Bees was under, and he was friends with those guys in Bees, Tak Matsumoto and Koshi Inaba. And they were apparently looking for a drummer at some point in their throughout their career, and they would come to LA a lot. And one time I was playing with Michael Schenker at the House of Blues, and Cooney, the guy from the Big MF label, was in town with the Bees dudes. And Tak Matsumoto was a Michael Schenker, he worshiped Michael Schenker when he was a kid. So they were in town recording their record, Bees record, and Michael Schenker, we were playing at the House of Blues. They came down and saw us. And so that's when they kind of got to see me play in that environment. And then so a few years later, Cooney had mentioned my name, I guess, when they were asking about drummers. And that's how it sort of, happened. And then so they inquired with me if I'd be into doing an audition. I was like, yeah, sounds cool. I had never heard of you, and they sent me a VHS tape, I remember. I put it in. It's like, like this outdoor stadium, 80,000
Tokyo Dome,
bigger. Like the Yokohama Stadium, I think, was the first thing I saw, and it was like, it's cool. It's rock and it's funky and it's got all these things. It was a little bit different than Western music because it just incorporated more styles. And so I listened through that, and their show was over the top. And, I found out, they sold 80 million records and all this stuff. And so I did the audition here in Hollywood, and they just, Cooney, again, from the label, came over with their manager, with Bee's manager. And they said, we just want you to play along with 3 songs. So they had sent me the 3 songs in advance, and I just went into the studio. They had a camcorder. In those days, it was a camcorder set up. And I just kind of played through, like, along with the track, just played through in this rehearsal studio to these 3 songs. I was like, wow, that's the weirdest audition I've ever done. I've never actually had to. In those days, it wasn't a lot of video stuff you would do. It was like kind of, it was more live. If you did an audition, the artist was typically there. So I remember how odd it seemed. Like, I met the manager, and he didn't really speak English, and I didn't know anything about Japanese or Japanese people. I just so much. I mean, I was into Tokyo tapes, And
I ate at Ito a couple times.
Yeah, and exactly. So I just didn't know. I didn't know what to expect or what it was. I didn't put any thought into. Just I did it. It was cool, and we'll see what happens. And it was like a couple weeks went by, and I got a call. Hey, they really liked you. Would you be into coming over to Japan with Billy Sheehan? And we're going to do some auditions.
Again, what?
Yeah, they're like, could you come over and play in the studio with Billy Sheehan? I'm like, Tokyo? Tokyo would play with Billy Sheehan in the studio? Hell yeah, So I went over there, and Billy had already gotten the gig because when you're Billy Sheehan, you don't have to audition for gigs. And
that's crazy.
And we ended up, I think we recorded 3 songs in one day, which was a lot, to record, especially when you hadn't met anybody or anything. You just kind of rolled into a studio, and it wasn't like a session where you're, a typical session where you're just hired to play the song or 2 songs or 3 songs. It was like a band kind of thing, and it was an audition for a live thing, but you're playing with Billy Sheehan, and now there's all those elements of all these things. But it's an audition. They're except it's in the studio. You know what I mean? A recording studio. So it's like, they're hearing.
They can hear everything. Yeah.
Through your NS10s.
No pressure.
Whatever you have over there.
Let's isolate the drums, please.
Let's solo the drums with the bass.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
And their tracks are already cleaned up and whatever.
Sure.
So, anyway. That was cool because I'd never really experienced that. And then it was like, basically that night, I think we went out for dinner, and they said, yeah, you want to come over and do this 6-month tour with us? And I was like,
good for you.
Hell yeah. It sounds awesome. So that was sort of the beginning of, a 18-year run with those guys. So it was,
wow, that long. Hey,
yeah.
How was Billy for the rhythm section? Like, how was Billy to work with?
Billy was great. Again, like, I was a big Talus fan, right? So it was like, I'm meeting Billy Sheehan for the first time, and I'm actually going to play with him and record with him. So it was so cool. And then Billy is such a rad dude. I mean, he's just like the coolest cat. So that was cool. And then when I finally did go over there, of course, you could imagine the first time you go to Japan, if you guys have ever been there.
No.
It was mind-blowing. I didn't know anything about the culture or anything about it. I had been to Japan before with Ingve. Actually, I'd been there for about a month, but it wasn't like this. It was like, we had all our people. It was just our little team going and playing these different venues that happened to be in Japan. But this was different. It was like I was living in Japan. There was Billy, myself, and Kuni Takeuchi. So it was kind of still, it was like there was some semblance of Westernality where it was like we could sort of do our thing and, you know, be what we usually do. And then, so I did that tour with Billy. It was freaking epic. It was a 25 freaking domes and stadiums and, you know, gazillions of people everywhere and Beatlemania everywhere. You know, it was like just off the chain, you know, like in those days, like Bees was, you know, they're still a huge band. Now they're more of a legendary band. In those days, there was still kind of like one of the big, you know, of the day bands. I mean, they still play stadiums, but it's just you know, they're more of a legendary artist now as compared to those days. But in those days, it was nuts. I remember going to the venue and there'd be thousands of people outside, you know, waiting to get a glimpse of the caravan that was driving in, like us.
Wow.
And you know, some of the videos we did right off the bat, we're doing a lot of stuff during the tour too, like the schedule. I wasn't used to that either. It was like there's all this stuff you're doing, you know, TV shows and, you know, a video shoot and a recording and blah 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 blah. Damn, bam, there's so many things going on. We did this one thing, you know, Roppongi Hills, which is this iconic big building in Tokyo. When they opened that building, we did this show there at the, like, in the base of this building. And I remember driving there in it's like a big minivan, really, back in those days.
Right.
I'm pulling up to that thing and there was thousands of people screaming and it was just nuts. And I was like, wow, I never really experienced pop stardom sort of, you know, stuff. And we did that.
How many people do? That's a very unique experience for you, man. Holy shit.
We shot a video on the roof of it and they had helicopters fly. It was like, you know, Guns N' Roses was a Civil War. What's that video? It was like that. Where
Don't cry.
Yeah. They had helicopters flying. We're on this like 5-story high rise on the top. We're shooting a rock video and there's like helicopters with guys with cameras flying over. It was just like, this is insane.
That's awesome.
So that was fun.
I was just wondering, the adjustment to playing the House of Blues, to playing these fucking stadiums, is it a big adjustment or is it just you just do your thing? And
it's a big adjustment mentally. I remember the first big show I did with Bees, and it was for the soccer FIFA final. So it was, I think, a week of, it was like a big tournament in Tokyo. And so it was Aerosmith and us playing Ajinomoto. So it was like a 65,000 seat stadium. And so there was no, you know, the Japanese aren't, you know, they don't give off this like personality like in the West where like they're all excited about, yeah, we're gonna go do the fuck yeah, stadium, bro, it's gonna be sick. Nothing, just another gig to those guys because they're used to playing stadiums, you know. So I had no idea what really it was. I just, you know, okay, I'm gonna go to sound check and it'll be like every other time. But it's a stadium. So I remember pulling up to that thing and it was a freaking stadium and I'm going, God, I'm playing here. And I remember just starting to freak out. And then and you drive underground, and I'd never done that stuff. Drive underground and drive, people there to meet you with radios and blah, 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 all this, you know, crazy stuff. And then we walk up to the main floor and there was one of the exits and I'm like, oh my God, that I could see out. It's a freaking stadium, you know, it was empty. It was early in the day. And I just kind of ran to the exit to the end and I'm just like, oh my God, no way. I'm going to be playing here in 5 hours.
wow.
And it's going to be full. What? So then we go to the dressing room. We didn't get much of a sound check, I think, that day. I think maybe it was a bit of a line check. I went up, but I didn't really get to see anything from there because everything's all scrimmed off. It was like serious scrim, huge production, you know, like just gigantic. So now we're going to play first, as we should have, you know, Aerosmith. Even though Bees was much bigger in Japan, it just felt, you know, they should let, you know, Aerosmith.
Let them.
Anyway, so you have to drive from the dressing room to the stage. You have to drive because it's far. You're underground for part of it, and then you're outside. And you got to just roll down like from the dressing room and check your snare drum and tune it up. It's like a whole thing. Whenever you want to do anything on stage. The other thing is security. When you're dealing with a band of that size, it's not like you just roll out in front of the club and go next door to get yourself a Big Mac. It's like, you got to tell everybody where you're going all the time, and there's security, and you got to show passes.
Wow.
There are several layers of security too. So showtime, right? I can see, I've been out a few times and I see what's happening. It's like this stadium filled up with people, and there's 65,000 people here now. And mind you, they're Japanese, so they're mild-mannered. It's not like a crazy scene, like not crazy rowdy sounding yet, right? The intro tape goes off, and it's like, now the roar of the crowd, and I'm like, oh my God, it's real. So I walk up the stairs, I can feel the play. It's a big, huge PA. I can just feel the bottom end going, like, crushing me already, and then we're not even playing. Again, scrim, I can't see anything. So the other guys are like, Billy's already, he's a seasoned veteran at this point. I don't think it really fazed him much. And the other guys in B's, they're getting ready, and they've been playing stadiums. And I go up to the scrim, and it was clipped, with the clips, right? And I just kind of like peep my eyeball out of the scrim, and I look, and I'm like, holy fuck. No shit. At that point, dude, I kid you not, my drumsticks, I started trembling. I started to freaking and I never really, I get nervous before I play, like
you should. Yeah, great.
That means you give a shit. Yeah.
This was I was fucking trembling, scared, like literally shitting my pants, scared.
Yeah.
I was like, holy fuck, can I do this, man? I don't know. And I started having this whole psychological thing with myself, and like, fuck, I know we practice. I've been doing a bunch of shows, but goddamn, there's a lot of people here, man. And I'm freaking out, and the things rumbling, and it's all I don't know. I was scared because you haven't heard this big, huge stadium sound and all these people. And I remember getting back on, okay, you guys ready to go? 2 minutes. And then they're going to run the final, like they put a video up, and it's like 2 minutes and you're on.
Yeah.
And I know it's coming. I just remember freaking out, and we're on the side of the stage. And then my tech comes and gets me, and now it's just me, the drums. I'm gonna run this whole thing. I still can't see anything because the curtain, the scrim or the curtain is still up. I could at this point, I was so scared I could barely hold the drumsticks. I'm not shitting. It was so scary for me. And then it was like 1, 2, 1, 2, here we go. The thing blows up, and there's like, it's just off the fucking chain, and there's fire and hell and brimstone going on and a billion lights. And I remember it took me like, I almost had a freaking heart attack. I think just the combination of the anxiety, the adrenaline, the nerves, the elation, all these things combined. I don't know that I've ever had that much emotion come over me in one time in my life. Wow. And then I got through like, even the first song and going into the second song, I was still like just freaking out. And then finally, after a couple songs, like, I get it. This is the shit right here, man. This is the pinnacle of what we do, embrace it. And it was like, I kind of had a little paradigm shift at that point, and I was able to sort of, relax and then to finish a song and just hear that crowd, it was pretty spectacular.
It's not that long a list of bands that play stadiums,
right?
And you did it. That's fucking awesome, dude.
There's some wonderful video drum cam footage of you in stadiums on the internet. You look just comfortable as a clam. You see you stand there and you're even cheering, you know what I mean? And the crowd just going nuts. And it's awesome. That style of things now with the drum cam footage, I just want to touch on this for a second. It really gives you an appreciation of what it's like to be behind the wall there, because, most people don't even get close to that. Now we get video and we see cats like you that are, got this big kit and you're just flailing away and so energetic. And even that, to be able to play it, like, look at the photo behind me. That's you.
Flailing away.
And you do that for, 2 hours with, like you say, the adrenaline. I'm amazed at how you can keep it up night after night. Like, to me, as a guitar player or whatever, it's not that physical. I mean, unless I'm Eddie or somebody jumping around all the time, but to be that energetic, plus the adrenaline, the anxiety, all the things that are going on, as you just mentioned, how do you do it?
I mean, it's not rocket science. You kind of, you've been building up, you started rehearsing all these songs, you started playing them in a set fashion where you sort of learn how to sort of pace yourself throughout the thing. And then if you're lucky enough, you have a few shows under your belt before you're doing a 2.5-hour show in the stadium, So we were playing like a 90-minute set in a theater, playing a lot of the same songs or some of them. So you're training. As I get older now, I have to be really mindful of keeping myself in shape. And, I can't go freaking party all night long and drink my brains out and get 2 hours of sleep and then go do that. I can't do it. I'll die. If you're not really in shape for it, you'll just either play the stuff all way too light and not have any threshold for the really heavy stuff, or just power through everything and not have any finesse for the dynamics for it. So it's just about doing it, and there's no real, it's not like magic or something like that. It's just you do it.
I think there's a lot of magic in here.
Yeah.
I really do. There's just only so many people that can do this kind of thing at that level. It's crazy. And
I agree. I got a question. So a show that size, and you mentioned the pyro and the video and stuff. So you're hitting cues and all this kind of stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Anything ever go sideways? Like,
Oh yeah.
surely it can't always be smooth. Give me a fucking shit show story.
Okay. I have many of them, but the thing is there's a lot of shit that happens on a gig, but we learn how to cover it up. I know how to, like, if I fuck up a part, I know how I can kind of finagle my way out of it so it doesn't really appear to be this, clusterfuck of a, mistake. However, on a gig like Bees, where everything is so strategically rehearsed and there's, I cue a lot of the things, for the production. I cue the pyro, I cue the lasers, I cue the follow spots, I cue a lot of things, right? The tough one is, we count off the songs, and if there's a click at the beginning, we can't fuck up the count off. We can't, because it just fucks everything up. When there's something like, let's say there's a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 song starts, right? If there's something that starts right on the downbeat of a song, let's say it's tracks or it's, backing vocals or something, because a lot of stuff is on track, we're running tracks, right, in those big productions. So there was one particular song, it was like just this monumental, like, all these tracks start right on one, right. Synths and violins and freaking guitar, everything, man, vocal. And it was the one song that you can't fuck up the intro to. You can't. There's just
look at your eyes right now. Just talking about it is like how painful this was.
Horrible. It was horrible. It was like the third song into the show or something. It was just a simple count. It was like 1, 2, blah, blah, whatever it was. Big rock tune. But that downbeat, everything starts. And you have to be, everyone's got to be aware. And I missed the fucking count. I missed the count. I didn't catch the count. For some reason, I was dicking with something or on the kit that messed up. And dude, everything started without me or anybody else, because they didn't hear a count.
Right.
So it's just like rah, rah, fake fucking Milli Vanilli shit, right, in the stadium. 80,
Oh man.
And God, it was horrible. So
how did you get into it? Yeah.
I counted in like I normally would, and we started without the tracks, and we played it as a band, but the damage had been done already.
Right.
The cat was let out of the bag. The fucking Milli Vanilli is playing tonight. it sucks when you fuck up on stage and you play all these mind games like, God damn it, fuck you. It takes you about half a song to like
That's
even
an
though
angry song.
oh my God, it's hard to get over it sometimes. It's hard. Like I'm better than I used to be when I was a kid, but you got to just let that shit go. But that thing was just, it ate me, and I remember apologizing to Tacker in the elevator. I mean, after the show, I want to kill myself. I want to hang myself. You know, you want to hang yourself. It's like letting in the fucking, you know, it's game 7 and it's tie game and it's overtime and you let one squeak through, right? It's that. And I remember nobody else gave a shit. It was like after the show, they were drinking beer and stuff, but I was just like, oh my God.
Thanks for sharing, Shane. Thanks for sharing.
That's right.
You know what? Shit happens. Sometimes life
Yeah.
really tough. It kicks your ass. And
Struggle and emerge, man. Struggle and emerge. Yeah, right on.
there you go.
I'm going to bug you for one more story because I find this, as a fan and non-musician, I find this fascinating. When you replaced Brent Fitz on drums for Slash, like when I hear this, I think, when did he find out? How long did he have to learn this set? Because by this point, they're doing like 95% conspirator stuff. They're not doing a bunch of GNR that you probably could play in your sleep.
Yeah.
I just find this fascinating. Tell me about how that happens and how you get that all dialed so you can hit the stage and play for Slash and the conspirators. Tell me that story.
Okay. So basically, I don't know, you guys know the story with Brent, you know,
Yep.
he had the detached retina. I think Brent had called me and he was in New York and he had some sort of temporary fix thing done to it just so that he could limp through. And I think he was just trying to figure out what they were going to do, you know, and Slash was trying to figure out what they were going to do. And those guys, I think, put in the word like, you know, maybe we should, you know, try and get someone in. Maybe Shane could come in and do this thing. But, you know, Slash had never heard of me or anything. So, you know, I don't know if he'd heard me. I doubt it. I don't think he had. So I got a call from those guys. I think it was Brent called me the first time. And he said, man, you know, you may have to, like, what are you doing? You may have to come out and relieve me because, dude, my retina's fucking detached. And, you know.
For the second time, it wasn't
Right.
it? It was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
second one.
exactly. So I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, man, you know, and then it was like the next day, I think I talked to the manager and I think he had mentioned that they had somebody already sorted out for it. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, I'm glad. I hope whoever it is, you know, it's going to be someone that can come in and kill it. Those guys are pros. They're not going to have some guy who can't hang come in and do it. And then it was like another day or maybe 2 went by. They were scrambling, trying to figure it out. And then I think Todd called me or something and they were kind of scrambling, trying to figure it out. And then it was like, okay, dude, you're going to have to come, man. And I was like, really? I thought it was sorted. And I was like, Todd, okay, send me the freaking set list now. They were going to do, I think it was a festival gig on the Saturday. So I was like, let me come out early on the Saturday. Give me another whole day tomorrow to kind of go through the stuff and learn it as best as I can, right? So it was like
A whole day.
I got a day.
So I think it was, you know, I want to say it was in the evening of Thursday. And I was like, I found out, I was like, okay, what do I got to do? Got to get a kit. I'm going to have to jump on Fitz's kit. And he's freaking 6'20". And I'm a little dude. So my kit's way different. You know, he's got a 26-inch kick. I have a 22-inch kick. So I was like, okay, let me I got the biggest shit I could find here that I have. Set up a big kit. Got the music. I put it on and I just started playing through it. I'm like, I don't know one of these fucking songs. None of this is Guns N' Roses. None of this is Guns N' Roses. I was expecting like, you know, Guns N' Roses songs. Because I didn't really
think you get one.
I mean, I knew Slash's stuff. I heard it. It was cool. And it wasn't really in my radar so much, you know? So yeah, it was 26 songs that there was Night Train. Okay, Night Train. I know this one. Is there any more? Welcome to the Jungle. Anything? Nothing? Just Night Train? That's it? I only know one song? I only knew one song. So I just started listening to it. It's like, okay, I get the thing. I don't know any of it. It's this, you know, a lot of it's like big rock and there's shuffles and there's a lot. I'm hearing like, oh, it's Brent. Yeah, it's not just some schlep on drums. It's like Brent Fitz with all different cool parts that he wrote in the studio and stuff. And now I got to learn all the drum parts, or they've been playing with Brent for the last 2 years, all these songs. I can't just show up and not play the parts. So immediately, this is where I'm so grateful that I could read, because this is where my chart reading stuff came out. I just put on the phones and start charting in all the songs. Chart, 26 songs over whatever is a lot. And endings, all the endings they have, that they've been working up all these endings for, and jams, and Slash likes to jam. So he's got a lot of extended solos with hits and cues and this and that and this. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that show. You may not know when you see it live, but there is a lot of things that have been worked out and been worked over for the last year on tour, right? You're always tweaking little things here and there. I worked late, super late that night. The next morning, I got up super early, started charting again. Now I'm trying to get on the kit and try to play along with it and get it somewhat into me somewhere. But I still tweaking a lot of stuff. Got on the plane, still charting. Got to the gig. Where was the first gig? A festival gig, abbreviated 45-minute set. So anyway. But the first day I got there, I don't remember where we rehearsed. So that first day, I just went to sound check and I just played like one song or something with Slash. Because you could imagine everyone's freaking out. Who's this guy? He's coming in. He's gonna just
including him.
Oh yeah, Slash like what?
Come in and play. So I remember getting up on Fitz's kit, and we were gonna play, I think, the first song, which had this weird ass intro thing. So I got in his kit. I kind of, again, it's like a 26-inch kick drums like this on me.
Right.
Big ass.
Right.
Up here.
Can't even see him.
Tweak. I didn't want to tweak anything because Brent was playing that night. So I think I lowered the snare. That was all I did. So I got it. I just kind of literally hit the drums a couple times, and then Slash was walking up on stage. I'm like, hey, it's like, okay, I got to play now. So, and Slash was totally cool, and Frank, and then of course, Brent was right there, but it actually went really cool. Like the first, when I started playing, it was like, yeah, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I just fake whatever I can't do. I'm gonna have to fake it. So then what I did was everything charted out, and then when it came time for, I think, Nashville, we had a day off, so I got in a rehearsal studio with Slash, and we bashed through a couple hours, I want to say, maybe an hour or so of the songs that I was still literally kind of figuring out, and just not enough time, and then I played through the thing, and then it was like the next day we were playing the Ryman Theater, so I had to do it. So I had the tech blow up my charts and my cheat sheets and stuff, because Brent has this gong drum. It's like a 20-inch drum to the left of him. And then I just use that as a chart rack, like my music stand.
Flip. Yeah, right on.
And I had the drum tech just flip the pages for me.
Awesome.
I mean, I didn't, at that point, it wasn't like I had to read every measure, I was just like, okay, it was more the intro, what the count in is, shit like that. What's the count in? What's the second groove of the song? How does the bass drum pattern change? Because it's impossible to remember all this stuff in that short of time. What the ending is, hold it out, wait for a cue from Slash, and then so I was just kind of glancing at I had the charts here. So I got through the first show, and it was like, God, okay, I got through it. I mean, all my drum guys, it was in Nashville, so my Pearl drum company is there, and that was cool. I mean, they knew the deal. They knew that was just kind of stepping into this thing, but it was it was sold out Ryman. It's Slash, who's been, right in the middle of this tour. You got to put on a good show, and they're tight. They've been playing for a year and a half on the road. They were so tight. So I had to nail it, man. I had to just kill it. I was going to fuck up. I was going to just fuck up. But I'm going to just have to pretend that I know what the fuck's going on, So I'll just play like I know it. And then after a couple shows, it started to, I didn't have to rely on the charts so much, and I could just start to feel the band. And then by like I want to say the 5th or 6th show, it was like, damn, this is fun. I want to be in this band. Like the last show I did, of course, was like was the best. And it was like I didn't have to read the charts at that point. I was just playing, and I could have fun, and I didn't have to watch. Okay, who's cues this part? Is it Snorris or is it Todd? And Todd helped me a lot too. He would come back to the kit and give me a hair toss. I knew we're going to the next section now. But it was fun as hell.
Is that why Todd flips his hair? Is it to cue the drummer? Is that why it is?
I think so. I think that's what it is. But those guys are so fucking fun on the road. Backstage is just nothing but just pranks and fun and laughing and singing, and it was such a great time. And Slash is so cool, and everybody in that whole camp was just so cool. So I was like, really? Now I got it. That's it. It was bittersweet, that ending, because I just wanted to I want to stay out for 6 months and do this, Yeah.
That is just such a fascinating story, man. When I heard that, I'm like, how does that happen? I'm going to end with this one last question. I mean, the music business is fucking like this, right? I don't have to tell you that. It's up and down. Where does that fucking drive come from, where you just keep at it and keep in shape and keep fucking plugging away? Where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I have to have a roof.
Yeah.
Over my
you gotta
house.
pay the bills.
I got it now. I have no choice. But I think, my dad was big on, it's like you gotta work, man. I think he instilled that in me at a really young age. It's like you gotta get out and and I saw how hard it was from growing up on the prairies and going out into the bars, and we had to work hard, just even playing in a bar band. I mean, it was hard work. You're loading gear and you're driving, and you're, growing up in that generation, I think too, it was like, I'm grateful that I did, because I learned what it was to have to really work for your stuff, and no one's going to just give you the easy road. You got to earn that shit. You got to earn your stripes. And now it's like, I love it, and luckily from a young age, I was just possessed by music, and drumming and all that stuff. So I was super, super passionate about it. So it didn't really feel like work ever. Even when, in my early years when, I was living on beans and living in Calgary in a rehearsal studio, it never felt like it was, I'm so hard done by, I have to eat a can of beans. It was like, no, I have a drum set and I can just play all night in this rehearsal studio. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like all the stuff that fuels all that is still the passion. It's still the same raw emotion that it always was. And I don't think you talk to Fitz, you talk to any of these guys that are doing it still, they're going to tell you the same thing. It's still the passion, man, that drives us all to do it. We have no choice.
Yeah.
It's what we fucking do. Pandemic or no pandemic, we're going to fucking do it. And if they drop a bomb on us tomorrow, we're going to dig ourselves out, and we're going to figure out how to fucking do the next thing. We're just going to do it, because that's all we do. And we won't quit until we're dead.
Okay, man, we've kept you way too long. Okay,
fun,
thanks,
guys.
Shane. Thanks so much. It was a blast talking to you. Check out Shane on all the socials. His fucking videos, his clips on Instagram are awesome. You want to see a great drummer, fire that shit up. Okay.
All right.
Awesome, man. Have a great night.
You guys take care.
Yeah.
Okay.
As well.
Bye-bye.
Till next time,
Yeah.
keep rock alive. Peace out.